When he said he needed space, your heart probably sank. Your mind rushed to fill in the blanks. Did I do something wrong? Did I come on too strong? Did I say too much? That single word, space, can feel like the beginning of the end. Let's pause for a second. Notice your breath. Maybe it's shallow, maybe it's tight in your chest. That reaction is your nervous system trying to make sense of distance. Because for many people, space doesn't feel neutral. It feels like danger. Here's the truth. When you've experienced inconsistent love, emotional distance doesn't register as someone taking time to breathe. It registers as abandonment. Your body learned long ago that closeness equals safety, so when someone steps back, your system immediately goes into alarm mode. Think of your attachment system like a rubber band. When someone you love starts to pull away, your instinct is to stretch toward them, not because you're clingy, but because that's what your body does to keep connection intact. The problem is, the tighter you pull, the more tension builds. You're both stretching under pressure, waiting for something to snap. Let's slow down. Have you ever noticed what happens in those moments? You replay every conversation, searching for the exact thing you might have done wrong. You start checking your phone constantly, waiting for a text, a sign, anything that says, "We're okay." You might even apologize for things you didn't do, just to restore peace. This isn't obsession, it's survival. Your mind is trying to regain control over something that feels unpredictable. The same way a child might cling harder to a distracted parent, you're reaching out, not for reassurance of love, but for proof that you're not being left behind. Let's pause again. Notice your shoulders. Maybe they've tensed up, or maybe they've dropped a little as you realize this reaction isn't your fault. You're not too much. You're just responding to a nervous system that learned love and loss could happen in the same breath. And this is where most people get it wrong. They believe needing space means something's wrong with the relationship. But often, it means one person's system is overwhelmed, not disinterested. For some, closeness triggers panic instead of comfort. They pull back not to punish you, but to regulate themselves. Still, your body doesn't know that. It only feels the pull. It hears silence and translates it as rejection. It feels absence and calls it proof. You start doing more, texting again, explaining, oversharing, trying to fix what isn't broken, trying to shrink the gap before it grows. You're not overreacting. Your body simply learned that love can feel uncertain. When someone you care about asks for space, it touches the oldest part of you, the part that once felt invisible when someone you needed withdrew. It activates that deep belief that love can vanish if you're not careful enough. And so you become careful, over-careful. You manage, you monitor, you hold on. But love to survive needs breath. When you hold too tightly, the rubber band stretches until neither of you feels safe. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for them and for yourself, is to stop pulling. Keep that thought for a moment. Because the moment you understand that their need for space isn't a rejection of you, but a reflection of them, something in your own system starts to exhale. When you start to see space as regulation instead of rejection, something gentle begins to shift inside you. You stop bracing for loss and start listening for balance. Let's pause for a second. Take a slow breath. Notice how your body feels when you imagine not chasing, not fixing, not over-explaining, just letting things settle for a moment. That quiet discomfort you feel, that's the stretch of growth. When someone you love asks for space, your mind might whisper, "They're leaving." But what if they're just trying to breathe? For people who fear losing autonomy, closeness can sometimes feel overwhelming. Emotional intensity can trigger a need to retreat, not because they love you less, but because their system becomes overstimulated. The love avoidant and the love anxious often find each other this way: one needing closeness to feel safe, the other needing distance to feel safe. Both end up interpreting the other's needs as danger. The anxious partner hears space and feels abandonment. The avoidant partner feels closeness and fears suffocation. It's not wrongness, it's rhythm. Let's slow down. Have you ever noticed your thoughts racing when someone pulls back? You start analyzing what went wrong, maybe scrolling through old conversations, trying to read between the lines. The silence feels heavy, like proof that something is breaking. But silence isn't always a message. Sometimes it's a pause. Sometimes it's someone's nervous system doing exactly what yours is doing, searching for safety. Here's the truth. Your nervous system doesn't differentiate between emotional and physical danger. The same part of your brain that alerts you when you're physically unsafe lights up when someone withdraws emotionally. That's why your body feels like it's in free fall when you can't feel their presence. It's not dramatic, it's chemical. Let's pause again. Notice your breath. It might be shallow. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, slower than before. That's how you remind your system that the threat isn't real. It's remembered. You might find yourself thinking, if I could just explain how I feel, they'd understand. But what you really want isn't to be understood. It's to be reassured, to know you still matter, even when someone needs distance. That reassurance is valid, but it's something you can start giving yourself. If you notice anxiety rising, name it out loud. This is my attachment system talking. That simple sentence helps separate the past from the present. It reminds your mind that you're not that small child waiting for love to return. You're an adult who can self-soothe, breathe, and wait without collapsing. Let's slow down one more time. Notice your shoulders. Are they still tense? Gently roll them back. That small movement signals to your body that you're allowed to relax into the moment. That connection isn't disappearing just because it's quiet. When someone says they need space, it's not an invitation to shrink yourself to fit their comfort. It's a moment to ground yourself in your own steadiness. To realize that your worth isn't up for negotiation depending on someone's availability. Keep that thought for a moment. The idea that you can hold your center even while they step back. Because when you stop interpreting space as rejection, you start making room for trust to grow. When you stop trying to close the gap and start letting the space exist, something inside you begins to soften. It's not indifference, it's peace. You realize that your worth doesn't shrink just because someone else steps back. Let's pause for a second. Notice your breath, the slow inhale, the quieter exhale. This steadiness you feel right now is what safety sounds like in the body. It's the opposite of the anxious noise that says, do something or you'll lose them. When someone asks for space, your first instinct might be to fill it, to talk more, to prove your love, to make sure the connection doesn't fade. But what if space wasn't loss at all? What if it was oxygen, the very thing that allows both people to breathe again? Start with grounding. The next time you feel that wave of panic, rise. Pause before reacting. Feel your feet against the floor, the weight of your body supported by the chair beneath you. Let that stability remind you that you don't disappear just because someone else stepped back. Then, reframe the story. Their need for distance doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean they've stopped caring. It might simply mean they're reaching for balance, for quiet within themselves. And that's something you can honor without abandoning yourself. Let's slow down again. Notice your hands. Maybe they're restless, wanting to do something. This is the moment to practice staying still. You can let the urge pass without turning it into a message or a chase. Because every time you resist the impulse to fix, you teach your nervous system that love doesn't require panic to stay alive. If the silence feels too big, return to your own center. Write, walk, breathe, or move your body. The goal isn't distraction, it's regulation. You're learning to replace the adrenaline of worry with the rhythm of calm. You're giving yourself what you once needed from someone else: steady presence. Boundaries matter here too. You can honor someone's request for space without waiting endlessly in emotional limbo. Ask yourself, what feels healthy for me? Maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a week. After that, you have every right to check in or choose peace for yourself. Love that disregards your emotional balance isn't love, it's depletion. Here's the truth: closeness and distance don't have to be opposites. They can coexist when both people feel safe. But safety doesn't come from control. It comes from trust, patience, and clear communication. Think of your attachment like that rubber band again. When you stop pulling tighter each time someone moves away, the tension finally eases. The band doesn't break, it relaxes. And in that release, connection becomes possible again. Let's pause one last time. Feel the space around you. Notice that it's not empty. It's air, it's possibility. Space isn't the absence of love, it's the room love needs to move freely. You don't lose connection by letting go. You lose it by gripping fear. When you trust that love can survive space, you start showing yourself the kind of steadiness you've always craved from others. Before you go, tell me in the comments, when someone needs space, what's the first thing your mind tells you?